Welcome to the latest Wax Ecstatic Pack Break. I am your host, Matt Salmon, and I am thoroughly excited about this pack. Even though it's an opened pack, it's okay, because inside this pack are the vibrant colors of 1975 Topps baseball. Now, as I've mentioned on the podcast for the past several weeks, I was on the hunt for a 75 Topps pack and just could not win any of the auctions for them. I would be in the final bidding, and then somebody would go way over top what my high bid was, and the final bid would be something that is just completely out of my affordability. So I will continue to try to track down some 75 Topps unopened packs. I do have a 75 Topps pack of my own, but it's one of those packs that I'm just saving. I don't know why. Not that I think it'll appreciate greatly in value, although it will over time. And, maybe it's, I don't know, a gift for maybe my kid when he graduates from high school. I don't know. But it's part of a group of packs. I've got one each from 74 through 79 Topps. And I just bought them a few years back, have put them in plastic holders. And I don't want to open that pack. But thanks so much to one of our loyal listeners, Casey W. He had a 75 Topps pack, and he told me that he regrettably opened up the pack and was willing to send us the cards so that we could not only talk about it in this podcast, but also so I could add it to my 75 Topps set, which is right here, and much like that 86 Topps set I showed you yesterday, is not complete. You can see I've got a little ways to go here with the 75s. Yeah, look at that newspaper and the plastic sleeves, and my wish list is kind of hefty right now. But yeah, okay, so I got about 200 cards to go here, but I really do appreciate the donation here, Casey, as it is something that we're going to look at together, even though these are open. I can tell you that they are mint condition cards, with the exception of the card that has the giant wax stain on it, which we will see in just a moment. But again, we do appreciate cardboard donations to the program, and really thank you, Casey, for thinking of us. And also, just as an aside, Casey, as a gift to the program and to me personally, sent a pack of 1977 Topps cards, which we have opened before, and I will open this during my own free time to add to my 1977 Topps set, which I'm doing much better than 75. I've got about 200 cards here. 77, I want to say, I don't know, maybe about 50 cards, 75 cards, something like that. We're getting a little closer to getting that. But anyways, we're going to talk about 75 Topps because it is a card that is very representative of the times. That was something that Topps aimed to do when designing their cards. And it's not just in the color and the design, but it's also just with how the whole set was put together. And even though it is extremely garish, or the phrase that I like to use is delightfully tacky, although I do believe the owners of the Hooters restaurants may sue me for using that phrase, that's the best way I can describe it, because in any other sense of the word, this design of cards would just be ridiculed. But somehow, the bright colors, the two-tone colors of the 75 Topps set has stood the test of time and has been a legend, as opposed to other bright-colored sets like, say, 91 Score or 91 Fleer, 90 Donruss, for example. Part of it, of course, is all those examples I gave you were from the junk wax era, and everybody's got a gazillion of those cards. But another big reason, of course, is 75 Topps has a very impressive rookie class. Of course, George Brett, Robin Yount, and Gary Carter, just to name a few. And you've got many early career cards from players such as Carlton Fisk and Mike Schmidt and many, many more. All of the stars of the 60s and 70s are in there, well represented too. Now, I can promise you there are no stars in this pack here. But let's go ahead and open it up. I'm going to move this box a little backwards. So again, it's already open, but that's okay, because I do know that with the exception of this big fat wax stain on the back of the Don Hahn card, that these are all in relatively mint condition or near mint condition, which for 1975, as I have discovered, is damn near impossible to find. So even if I don't have these cards in my collection, they will replace the beat up ones that I have. So we start off with a playoff recap. A's do it again, win third straight World Series. You know what's amazing? A team has not won 3 consecutive World Series since the A's did. Or no, I take that back. The Yankees did. That's right. The Yankees won 3 World Series. Boy, I almost totally lost it there. So the A's did it in 72, 73, 74. The Yankees, 98, 99, and 2000. So think about that then as I try to cover my faux pas here. In the last 46 years, only 2 teams have won 3 consecutive World Series. So here you've got Reggie Jackson and Raleigh Fingers, and I have to wonder if this is perhaps some guy named MC Hammer as your bat boy. I don't know. But you've got a nice little box score here of the final statistics from the 1974 World Series against the Dodgers. Now, a future Dodger, I don't want to call him great, but certainly a personality, or no, he was a former personality at the time. Yeah, he was with the Angels here. Bobby Valentine, and this may permit me to use my Bobby Valentine impression in the program. So Bobby Valentine, now even though this is near mint, because there's a little wear here on this corner, little wear here, the big issue with 75 Topps was centering. And you can see it clearly here. This is, I'd say maybe 80-20. You've got 80 here, 20 there. And this was a big problem with 75 Topps. And I've got my suspicions as to why, and it was simply because of cost and oversight. So here is Bobby Valentine, slightly off center, striking a pose with the California Angels in 1975. We've got Indians outfielder John Lowenstein, and you know what's interesting with all of the rush to rename sports teams with racist backgrounds or names, such as the Washington Redskins, now the Cleveland Indians. Looking back at it, I still look back at this Indians jersey, and I think this is the best one of the past 40 or 50 years, kind of that Flintstones type font and the crooked C. But there's Chief Wahoo there on the sleeve, and nobody likes him now. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'm somebody who, many years ago, I was kind of opposed to it. I'm just like, it's the Indians. But as I've gotten older and perhaps wiser, it's a smart thing for the Indians to do, and I've got some suggestions as to what they could change. Vic Albury here of the Minnesota Twins, staying warm underneath the chilly blue skies of Metropolitan Stadium, thanks to those ginormous caterpillar eyebrows of his. Another problem with 75 Topps is ink spots and these little ghostly circles that just kind of crop up in the middle of some cards here. So it's not just Vic Albury. You'll see it on other cards. Here's Mike Hegan of the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, the Brewers still a fledgling club at that time, but he actually looks somewhat composed on his card. Speaking of fledgling players and teams, Baylor Moore of the Expos. I believe we've talked about Baylor Moore before. We've got Laron Lee of the Indians, and a better look at that Flintstones kind of font there, as a Lee looking off into space there. And I want to look at the back of these cards too, because 75 Topps is also very memorable for how the backs came together. 1975 Topps was the last year that Topps featured vertical delivery of statistics and information up until 1993, and that's for the base cards. Sometimes you would have a manager card or a team leader card that was set up this way, but for the base cards, this was it. And it's a unique combination, a little hard to read with the gray cardstock. But you've got red, you got a little bit of pink, and then this dark green here. So sometimes you have to squint while reading the backs of the 75 Topps cards. All right, we got the Rooster, Doug Rader, third baseman for the Houston Astros, in what I believe is quite possibly the most underrated Astros uniform in history. I still believe the shooting star and the Astrodome jersey that they wore in the mid to late 90s was pretty underrated, pretty good. But the very bright orange and red version that you saw from 1971 to 74, I think is actually better than the Tequila Sunrise, which would debut in 1975. And we'll get talking about uniform colors. It's all part of the reason why you have these very bright colors and the garishness. We have Bruce Ellingson here of the Indians, who clearly, because of the cowlick to the top of his head, was not with the Indians the year before. You can tell that. He was a member of the Indians organization. However, this picture probably of him taken with Oklahoma City or Albuquerque as he was working on making his major league debut. They just clearly didn't have a picture of him with an Indians uniform. And I'm guessing, assuming that the uniform was not touched up, that's an Oklahoma City's 89ers uniform. And then we've got Don Hahn, who looks exasperated to be with the Mets. By the mid-70s, most Mets players were. Outfielder extraordinaire and bearer of the wax stain on the back of our pack here. So again, no superstars. I'd say the biggest star would probably be Bobby Valentine, or you could argue Doug Rader. Or if you squint, it's Reggie Jackson and Raleigh Fingers here on this Oakland A's card. But despite the fact that there's no superstar power or no Brett or Yount card, it is always a thrill to get these cards. 10 cards, that was the norm in 1975, a 10-card pack. It's great to get these cards in near mint condition, and even though the centering on, say, Bobby Valentine or John Lowenstein are a little off here, for the most part, these cards are in very, very good shape. And we'll get into why you had so many problems with the cutting of cards, and I think you'll be able to see why there was even some blandness in how these card combinations came around. And here's a hint here: red, blue, green, although you could argue, is it that green? No, it's kind of that green. Yeah, you even have slightly different shades of green here. It is a color catastrophe 75 tops, but despite the fact that you've got some very interesting production problems here, it is still a wonderful set that lasts to this day, is very strong this day. And we will discuss about that a little more in our next podcast coming this Friday, July 31st. It'll drop at noon Eastern on Audio Boom and all of our channels that link up to it, including Apple Podcasts. I'm your host, Matt Salmon. Thanks again to Casey for donating this pack, and we'll discuss more 75 tops in our next edition of Wax Ecstatic.